Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Tonight, we're discussing national security and the recent attacks in northern Nigeria. My guest tonight is Senator Shehu Sani, author, playwright, and former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good evening to you, Senator. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Today, we're discussing national security because northern Nigeria has suffered attacks and atrocities by various jihadist groups, including Boko Haram and its ISWAP offshoots since 2009. This is 2025. Who are those perpetrating these latest attacks? Are they Boko Haram members, ISWAP or Lakrawa groups? Are these guys same persons with different names? Senator.
Thank you again for having me in your program. Well, it is a fact of history that in the last decade and a half, the northern part of this country has been consistently been under the siege of bandits and terrorists. Terrorism that has been spearheaded by Boko Haram and later ISWAP gained a foothold in northeastern part of Nigeria, which includes acts of kidnapping, killings, rapes, and arson. Now, banditry came into the theater of terrorism in the last 8 years. And that has also equally been a horrible experience for people in northwestern part of Nigeria. Now, the war against terrorism and banditry has been going for a very long time. But it is also important to state that there are successes that have been recorded, and also there are areas that are still a problem for the country. But terrorism anywhere in the world is not a battle you win. And for the fact that regionally, what we are facing is the same as it is in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger Republic, in parts of Chad and Cameroon. So you can see the regional dimension to this problem. Now, the upsurge of these terror groups with the recent attacks is a reminder to the fact that despite that successes have been recorded in a number of areas, they are still potent. They still have the capacity to kill, to abduct, and also to disrupt and damage. And that means that our security and defense apparatus should be well alive in terms of not being resting on their oars, as far as the success recorded in some parts of the country, that this war is far from being over and also is far from being declared a victory. It is a battle this country has to fight, and it is the battle of our times, the battle of our era, and it's as important as the survival, the peace, the unity of the country, and also it's as important as our own existence as people in this country. So this is a battle we have to continue to fight until victory is achieved.
But based on the level of progress we thought we had recorded in the fight against terrorism, did the emergence or re-emergence of the Lakrawa group come to you as a surprise? Do you consider it another layer to the number of security challenges facing the country?
Well, if you still go through history, you will see there is nothing new that the Nigerian state has not experienced from terrorism. Whether it is attack on schools, attack on commuters, attack on trains, abductions, extortion of ransom, attack on power lines and supply lines. These are all things which we have faced. But the emergence of the Lakrawa group now gives a new angle to the whole thing, because Boko Haram is a local terror group. So the ISIS is an affiliate of international terror group. Now the Lakrawa seems to be a scion of some terror cells within the West African sub-region. So this is a new dimension, but it is still what the Lakura are doing, it's still what the Boko Haram and ISIS are doing. The point is that a new front, a new theater is open in northwestern part of Nigeria, for which poses a different and a new challenge to which our security agencies have to fight by all means. And this is not something we can win as a country because from the statistics, most of the members of Lakurawa are not actually Nigerians, and that this is a battle to which can only be won if there is regional cooperation and a continuous action to exterminate and annihilate the group.
You know, it's Armed Forces Remembrance Day, Senator. What's your evaluation of the current state of Nigeria's defense capabilities, and what specific measures are you advocating to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of our security forces?
You see, like in the last 15 years, this country has been fighting a battle for its own peace, for its own survival, and for its own existence. The cancerous presence of terror groups in the northern part of Nigeria is a matter of a battle to which we have to win. But it is a fact that terrorism, abduction, and killings are still going on. We have seen how 40 farmers in the last 48 hours were exterminated by a terrorist, and we have seen some spate of abduction in some few parts of northwestern state, and still terror kingpins like Banditry, Adam Elero, Kachala, and all those elements are still alive in the bush. But we must appreciate that successes have been of recent in the last 1.5 years been recorded. For example, in the last 8 years, you can remember hardly a day or a week passes by without an attack on schools. When last have you had students were abducted from primary or secondary schools? But from 2016 to 2024, you can count them from Federal School of Agric Mechanization, Mando, Kaduna, to Bethel Baptist High School, Kaduna, to Government Girls Secondary School, Kankara, Government Girls Secondary School, Jangibe, to attack that you have in Greenfield University in Kaduna, and then the Sangaya in Tegina. All those things here happen in the last 7 years. But since the last abduction you had in a school in Kaduna State, which it didn't take within 8 days, the issue was resolved. When last have you had that? And that for now, you can see how security has been stepped up. Kaduna Abuja train that was attacked and many people were killed. It has not happened. Even Kaduna Abuja road, that there was almost abduction on a daily basis. This has not happened. And the peace deal, spearheaded by the governor of Kaduna State, Obasani, the National Security Advisor, and the Chief of Defense Staff, you can see that in the Birningwari Angu, people can now go to their farms and people are applying the road. So there is an appreciable degree of progress that is made, but that does not suffice to say that there is not terrorism is still going on, abduction is still going on. But now it's still a message to our own armed forces and security apparatus that they need to step up action and that we need the necessary technology, the support, the welfare of the military. Security is very important for us to be able to achieve what we need to as a country.
I hear you, Senator, but there are some security experts who have always said, if we leave everything to the military, we would continue to live in cycles. Otherwise saying we cannot win this war only with the use of guns. The dialogue is as important as the kinetic approaches. My question to you tonight is, haven't we tried enough? Haven't we explored all these approaches, yet minimal progress?
Yeah, you see, I speak with historical facts. But again, we can divide the terrorists into 3 groups. There are those ones that are open to dialogue. These are the ones we can talk to them and see how we can resolve the issues and how they can transform into the agents for peace. And there is a second group who are partly in support of peace and also partly ready to continue to fight. And there are those hardliners who simply want to fight. Now, you can talk with those who pick up arms for economic reasons, because they said their cattle has been rustled, so they need to fight, they have grudges, they have issues they have to fight. Then those are issues that can be addressed. But a jihadist who picked a gun and has a theocratic agenda of imposing his own doctrine, his own ideas, his own philosophy, his own religious ideas on a whole nation, you can't dialogue with such kind of person, because he already has a mission and an agenda, and then you have to continue to fight with him. Now, the point is that the dialogue process in Kaduna succeeded, but there are places it never succeeded. There was dialogue process many years ago in Zamfara. It started well and then collapsed. There was dialogue process in Katsina under Masari. It started well and then collapsed. But this is the first time, that of Kaduna State, where we see these bandits coming forward and laying down their arms and then making success. Even in Borno State, we have seen some members of the terror group repenting, bringing their arms and surrendering, and ready to join the normal civil life. There are those of them, but we have to be ready. Those who are for peace, we must sit down with them, talk, and address their grievances. And those who are simply affiliate of a bigger terror group outside of this country, these are not people we can dialogue with, because they are under directive and they have a mission to accomplish. And that we have a country to save, we have a country to defend, and we must defend it. A nation of 224 million people cannot be held at ransom by a gang of terrorists who are less than 50,000. But it is a challenge. It is the trouble of our times, for which we have to win at the end in order to save this country.
Right, talking about challenges, Senator, because some Nigerians have said perhaps it's time for us to embrace our reality, which is that Nigeria is at war with itself, and with that the military would be able to face these terrorists hands-on, and this balancing act may be subdued. We've exhausted or reeled out different approaches in the last 14 or 15 years, yet we're still here. Is it too early for that, Senator? And the second part of that question would be that the president has given broad mandates to the armed forces, so they do not need broad permission to kill. They're already killing these terrorists, so why declare war when that also has its own implications?
You see, let us not be too complacent. If you withdraw the army from Katsina State or Sokoto State, the whole of the state will be engulfed by terrorists. If you withdraw the army from Niger State or Kaduna State, the whole of the state will be overrun by the military, by the terrorists. You see, you will negotiate from the point of strength. Those who are fighting this country, the terrorists and bandits who are fighting this country, have to be well convinced that they cannot win. And you can't convince them on the table. They have to see that they don't have that firepower for them to be able to win. That's a fact that we have on the ground. What we need is the necessary technology to fight. The world must help us, because I can see a conspiracy. How can our country use our own resources, purchase fighter jets from the United States or any country of the world, and they say you cannot apply it here, you cannot apply it there, you cannot use it there. If you use it there, we will switch off the engine. And this is a country that said he wants to support us to fight. So, and again, as far as we are concerned, if we have to win this war, we cannot do it without using the necessary technology to be able to achieve our goals. But I think this is also an opportunity for us to look inward and see how we can fund, equip, energize our own local defense industry to be able to take on our battle. And again, the welfare of the military is very important. I commend the federal government when I heard that about $20,000 has been approved for the medicals of generals and other things. I think this should permeate to the police, to the immigration service, to the customs, to civil defense, and all paramilitary forces who are all a component of Nigeria's security architecture. So if we don't do that, we will be at the mercy of terrorists. We should dialogue with those who are ready to dialogue and should fight with those who are ready to fight. That is how to save a country. We are not the first to experience this terrorism. Algeria, if you remember, after the annulment of 1992 election, where the National Liberation Front was defeated by an Islamic insurgent group, won an election, and then terror was unleashed. After a decade, the nation stabilized. Nigeria is not the only country facing terror. Somalia is there, Afghanistan is there, other nations, even Kenya and other countries of the world, we are all on the same boat. But the point is that, how do we win? I have seen the rating of global military where they rank Nigeria as 39. Nigeria cannot be 39. To me, an army that is in the battlefield fighting is stronger than the one that simply have weapons being kept at a certain depot. Our army is up to the task. They need the funding, the equipment, the motivation, the technology to be able to fight. We, a nation of, like I've said, 220 million people, we can win this war, but we should be able to sit down and dialogue with those who are sincerely open for dialogue, so that at least we can reduce the number of people whom we have to confront in the battlefield.
Senator, for those with extreme views projecting that Nigeria may be at war with itself, I mean, you would not blame them, because even with profound efforts by the military, it still looks like we're handling this with kid gloves. Now, let's talk about our unmanned borders. Terrorists and bandits have made Nigeria's forests their refuge, and as long as it's a haven for them, we will not see an end to this scourge. Someone had said to me, look, you can travel all the way from Mali to Kaduna by bypassing all the towns and villages, 1,000 or over 1,400 unmanned borders. Senator, isn't that a lot?
Yeah, you see, we are not the only ones with unmanned border. Democratic Republic of Congo have unmanned borders. The same thing with Niger, with Burkina Faso, with Mali. You can see how their military have been under consistent attack by terrorist groups, and they are also suffering what we are experiencing at this very time. I think if we have identified porous borders as one of the factors that precipitate, escalate, and aggravates insecurity in this country, I think it's very important that we fund the immigration services, fund the border patrol, use the necessary technology for us to achieve what we need to achieve. In this world of 21st century, where technology has made it impossible for you to hide, I still wonder how things like this take place. But it is for us to also ask ourselves questions. Terrorists are still posting videos on TikTok, and they are still using the mobile phone that we say that you must have NIN, you must have BVN, you must link NIN to SIM to NIN, and then all problems will be solved. But here we are.
Senator, allow me come in here. Is it really about technology? Because, I mean, it's a fact that Nigeria is a country surrounded by countries that are largely destabilized. Senator Aline Dume, for instance, says this is happening as a result of the influx of people from neighboring countries. Talk about Chad, Mandara Mountains. Security experts have said to me on this program that the solution to banditry and other crimes and criminalities committed within forests is permanent deployment of well-trained professional hunters and forest security operators across the country. And recently, the conversation about the need for the establishment of the Forest Ranger Force came up, which is in line with the president's desire to enhance forest guards. How far do you think government should have gone towards actualizing this initiative?
Well, you see, it is important that we tell ourselves the home truth. Saying that the terrorism going on in this country is being perpetrated by people who are not in this country, I think we are simply telling ourselves lies. All the names of top terror groups, top terror elements in this country, like the ones I earlier mentioned, Bello Turji is a Nigerian, Kachala is a Nigerian, Valeri is a Nigerian, who do you call him, the other person from Niger State, they're all Nigerians. They are not from Mali, they are not from Namibia, they are not from Mozambique, they are Nigerians, and they are still making calls, posting videos, and posing a serious challenge to our existence. So if we have not extinguished the ones that is now in Sokoto, we're looking at the ones in Sokoto. We have to, first of all, exterminate the ones who are here. And I must say very well that we have been on this for 15 years, but progress has been made now, and I appreciate that. Our children are going to school. I'm from Kaduna State, and I knew what it is. Many people in the past who are living at the peripheral of Kaduna, outskirts of Kaduna, have now returned back to their homes. So there are progress made. But we have not been able to annihilate the ones who are here. We're talking of the ones that are coming in. Well, terrorism is now also a global affair. Just like you have internet when you can talk with people in Finland, in Sweden, in Japan. They too have network. And that the only way to which we can address this is, first of all, to protect our borders and fight our own battles using our own resources and making sure we get the best technology wherever we need to get it. If America is not ready to sell arms to us, we should go to China, to Russia, to Japan, to any country that's ready to provide arms to us. The politics of arms trading is also not helping Nigeria, and I think we hope the Trump administration will lift some of these restrictions on Nigerian army and military so that we can be able to win this battle.
Right. We've talked about technology, but another angle to this conversation, Senator, is the issue of budgetary allocation. 50 billion naira budgets can't keep the country safe, says Bello Matawale. And according to him, with adequate funding, the problem of banditry will be addressed in 2 months. But for a proper perspective, Senator, a whopping 4.91 trillion naira has been allocated to the defense and security sector in the 2025 budget. But experts doubt this would improve security. We've seen increased military spending in recent years without making Nigerians safer and more secure.
Well, you see, we have reached a point that we also need to ask ourselves whether money will solve our problem. Under the Buhari administration, while I was in the Senate, I have seen how even the budgetary process was circumvented to fund defense. At a certain time, a minister made revelation that over 1.3 trillion was spent, and that there are times when even the army chiefs go directly to the president and get approval. So the money that was pumped in the last 10 years has not been able to extinguish the fire of terrorism in this country. Well, if they say they need more money for that, I don't know how that will be able to solve the problem, because it has reached a point now you hardly believe anything. What you need to see is that since with all the billions that were pumped into defense and security, you still see our own troops on the front line crying of hunger, crying of lack of equipment, lack of weapons to fight, and many of them are still struggling to survive. And then billions was allocated and funded. So is it money, or is it corruption, or is it something else? I actually don't know. If we allocate money for weapons, I want to see an end to issues of lack of weapons. If we allocate money for welfare of soldiers, I want to see an end to complaints of lack of welfare. But this has not been going on for a very long time. I think it's also time to
And I wonder how much more we need to pump into this defense sector for us to have a safe country. But Senator, do you agree that probing security chiefs on the prevalent insecurity in Nigeria is a disrespect to the institution?
Well, there is no disrespect. If we can probe a university, you can probe any ministry, government agency, and whatever. So what is wrong with probing? It's all about public resources. There is no reason why, because you are a security or defense apparatus of the state, so you are above probity and accountability. What kind of country are we running? Is it because we are fighting a battle, so people should not ask you where? Then it means that we'll continue to pump money and not ask questions. If we refuse to ask questions how the monies in the last years were spent, then it is not going to be, that opacity will continue forever. We keep on pumping money thinking that that will bring an end to Boko Haram. It has never brought an end to Boko Haram. Let me tell you how these things happen. We pump in billions for defense and security. And these terrorists, they use only a motorcycle that costs less than 700,000 naira with an AK-47 of 200,000 naira. and then with a mobile phone.
Senator, they started using IEDs.
Well, the IEDs which they are using, I don't think it's in billions of naira. I don't think so. So the point is that accountability in defense expenditure is as important as winning the war on terror. Oh, we keep on pumping money thinking that that will bring an end to terrorism, but it's not going to be. Every money allocated, if it's for welfare of the military, it has to bring an end to the issue of welfare in the military circle or in the police or in any of the paramilitary agencies. You can't probe other agencies and say the military should not be under scrutiny. It's important that we do that. If you allocate money for purchase of arms and there are no arms and say you shouldn't talk, it doesn't make any sense to anybody.
Senator, you've advocated for the use of technology, but how troubled are you about this constant accidental airstrikes, miscalculated airstrikes, intelligence mishap? The latest is in Zamfara State, and I'm also that, I mean, whatever elevated linguistic rendition is chosen to describe these incidents, it does not douse the fact that the Nigerian military is leaving a trail of innocent blood and carcasses in its fights against insurgents. These are troubling pattern, Senator.
Well, let me tell you some of the little things I can remember about these strikes. There was a time there was a strike in Iran in Borno State, which tens of civilians were killed. It happened in Nasarawa state, tens of civilians were killed. It happened in Niger State, in Ishiro local government, vigilantes were killed. It happened in Kaduna State, Tudimbiri. It happened in Sokoto, and now it's happening in Zamfara. But you see, American troops and Russian troops also sometimes find themselves in this kind of situation. But it is very important that our own military, using such technology, should not turn the fire on those that they should protect. It's unacceptable. The number of casualties are coming in from these airstrikes, and I think it is important that taking lessons to what has happened in Kaduna State, where hundreds of people were killed, this should be brought to an end. I know that a war is not a straight line, a war is not a smooth line, but there must be a serious exercise of caution in terms of protecting the lives of civilians, for which that is the primary.
But Senator, how do we develop counter-insurgency measures that protect civilians from harm? How do we go about this? Well,
you see, technology provides all the information you need. We are living in a world today where if you hold a mobile phone wherever you are, you can be detected. And there is no hidden place for any person. And if that can happen, if that is the world we are in, I think it is important that we apply that to our own security network. If there is a terror group in between Kaduna and Abuja, and they are moving on the motorcycle.
But Senator, is this about technology or poor intelligence gathering?
But you use technology for intelligence gathering. You also use the local population for human intelligence gathering. You need to use everything at your disposal to be able to fight your battle, and this is what we need. And we should be confident in our military. We should give them the necessary funding and equipment and make sure that funding goes to where it is budgeted to. That's the way we can win this battle. We shouldn't say that this cannot be won. We will win this battle. Nigeria will emerge victorious, but we should believe in those who are sacrificing their lives. They are fathers, they are uncles, they are breadwinners, they are sacrificing their lives so that we can live in our homes and we can sleep. We should appreciate them.
All right, Senator. Before we go tonight, the federal government debunked plans of hiring foreign machinery to help address those security challenges in the country, saying it has never considered it a viable option. First, what's your take on this? And I also know that the last time we had a conversation about national security, you said foreign support is what we need at this time. And in the last 5 years, we've maintained that partnership remains key in fighting insecurity.
Yeah, you see, we need our own forces to be supported by the necessary technology, arms and equipment to be able to fight our battle. I don't know how we can recruit mercenaries and think that will be able to solve our problems. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso evicted the French out of their country and invited Russians. And these Russians are said to be private defense contractors. Has that been able to address the problem of insecurity in that country? No. This is our country. This is our land. We know the terrain very well. The need to arm the necessary agencies to be able to execute our war and fight our battle is what we need. We don't need mercenaries in this country. Can you tell me that a nation of 225 million people cannot fight this battle until you go and hire some people from outside the country to come and fight your own battle with you? Okay, they will remain here forever, or what do they do? So I think we have still not been able to explore our potentialities, and we have still not been able to accept the fact that this is a war we have to fight and we have to win.
All right. I'd have loved to get your perspectives on other matters, but sadly we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Senator Shehu Sani, author, playwright, former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.